Junglers think that being an MVP means getting your own econ and then just solo carrying the game through magic. While it can feel that way, there's a certain way of jungling that allows you to actually be the MVP every game you play, and if you lose, you can honestly say, hey, nothing more I could have done. That's the mood you want every time you finish a game of ranked solo queue, or flax or clash, or even if you play normals. So in this video, we will go over 2 challenger examples with 2 different jungling styles to showcase to you how every game you can get an S+, be the MVP, and give yourself the best chance to carry and improve in the jungle for the rest of Season 2025 or Season 15. So, let's go. Number 1 game is going to be Bel'Veth vs Nidalee. We will have a Lilia game in the second one. We will timestamp this for you so you can go to your preferred style, or as I advise, watch both. You've seen the runes, we're going to go through the first clears now. Nidalee starts on the top side, Bel'Veth starts on the bottom side. There's going to be something very interesting I want all of you to be aware of that you don't even see in Grandmaster Plus sometimes, and even in Challenger games, as you will witness. Bel'Veth gets to the top side of her jungle. She is on the wall, she sees the enemy top lane set move down, and when you see that, you know that that guy is warding for a potential gank. But if he disappears a little too long, now you start to think, wait, is this guy invading me? And especially if you are a weaker early game jungler, you gotta think like an MVP. Alright, I'm tracking this, I'm aware of this, let me ward off the wall, which she does. We know where he is. Cool. Her Smolder in the meantime had basically ended himself, unlucky losing face for bot lane, and so we will do the Scuttle Crab. Nidalee likewise will do the bottom Scuttle Crab. Here's a big difference. A lot of you will now automatically think, okay, Nidalee's bot side, maybe I can 2v2 mid lane, maybe I need to do what I call a clean 6 clear and quickly cross mid to protect my Raptors and Krugs for the counter jungling. If there was nothing else available on the map, hell yeah. But the thing is, the set is an egotistical monster in the top lane, as they all are, and doesn't even remember that he saw you not only 25 seconds ago. That's because top laners are blind, which means go and kill him if he's especially half HP, especially if you can just walk through given you know he's already warded in a different location. Make sure you impact that lane, get the kill. And for that, head over to Virkayu.gg. Not only do I have a free jungle improvement resource, I also have a dedicated program with jungle video courses, jungle coaching, coaching classes, a jungle VOD library. We already have a lot of community VOD reviews and coaching classes for Season 15, sharing all the tips and tricks to reach new peaks in this season. All the fundamentals you need for right now are available in a ridiculous amount of hours for content tailored for your MMR so you can climb to reach your peak rank as fast as possible. So to hit your peak rank in Season 15 and jungle diff every game you play, head to the link in the description below or to Virkayu.gg. Nidalee, on the other hand, is not thinking like an MVP and instead says, oh no, my top laner died, let me go back to base. I hate this. Purely because you know if you're Nidalee, you didn't start Raptors. That means they're not going to be respawning just yet whatsoever. You've got a nice delay on that. It also means you can move into Bel'Veth's jungle, place deep vision as you see on the map we're animating right now, and then steal the respawn of her Raptors. If someone starts Raptors, they're gonna respawn around 4 minutes or so. If they start right into Krugs, hey, I know those are gonna be up at like 418, 422 range, sort of. Therefore, the Nidalee misses out. Let's see what happens from the Bel'Veth's perspective as she goes back to base. Well, you might have lost your bottom side, but you can't really think about that too much. We go for our Krugs because they're up. We can pass full Krugs, Raptors, Wolves, Grump. Nice. Now the grubs have spawned. If you can gank before that or you see something available to you, please do something about it. But in this case, the easy Bel'Veth strategy is to ensure you get 6 on grubs, get your true form, and now we're ready to play. But this is really good for everybody, not just Bel'Veth. Anything from Nefiri to Darius jungle, oh wait, those aren't even off meta anymore. Basically, any jungler can capitalize on pathing like this. The Nidalee, however, also does the dragon at the same time, but this is where, again, the Bel'Veth is thinking better about the game than the Nidalee is. We go probing and shadow a little bit because we've got a lot of downtime before those Krugs respawn again for the 3rd time. Nidalee, on the other hand, tries to help bottom lane, tries to get a kill, tries to get an assist, just tries to be active as much as she can. But in doing so, gives an open opportunity for her red to be counter jungled by the Bel'Veth. And the Bel'Veth here has exploited the fact that because she started Raptors, her red is going to spawn later than the Nidalee who started hers. And this showcases the 2 sides of a Raptor start versus a red start. The Nidalee didn't understand the advantage she'd have over the Bel'Veth and didn't execute on it. The Bel'Veth did understand the advantage she had and did execute on it. That's a huge difference between an MVP jungler and your Daffy Duck jungling. The ability to optimize your own game plan, 1, 2, impact lanes, and 3, prevent the enemy jungler from executing what they want to and understanding where your advantages lie as a champion and strategy is really just a summary of, hey, I'm a good jungler and I'm gonna climb. As I was saying that, you saw the Bel'Veth take the reds, try and steal the Raptors, the Nautilus roams, we cross over mid lane, we don't take a fight that isn't advantageous to us, especially if the Nidalee has gone back to base, and we haven't yet. We're sitting on Hearthbound Axe, but we haven't reset yet. We don't want to take that fight, even if our tempo is in our advantage. This also means that because you stole some stuff from Nidalee, she's going to have to clear down to protect the potential of you taking the bottom side. All we really want to do here, as you see, is take our bottom side camps, path all the way to the top side, and while she's doing this, she does what we call an extended sequence that even though we have gold to spend, we could stay out to prevent any loss of econ for ourselves, and then go back to base and buy a full item for the next fight that we're going to take. Shadow, where we have those roams and numbers advantages, and yeah, we flash to kill the Tristana so we can get true form and threaten the grub snack. But of course, we're going to go back to base and buy Kraken Slayer first. The Nidalee, in the meantime, has chased her around the map, has lost all ability to counter jungle, and is really just following the Balveth. All of what I said before is why now Balveth is in total control. But more than that, her Smolder is inting, her mid lane is completely neutral, and she doesn't really care what anyone's KDA is, and that's why it's important to play certain champions that allow this playstyle. I mean, you can be MVP on Sejuani jungle, but you're not gonna climb as much as if you're MVP on a Balveth or a Lilia, right? And you can see we're about to fight for the grubs, and we're gonna play this through as you watch the skirmish. Balveth should do good things. We have rotations. Unfortunately, Aatrox will TP to the bottom lane. But before she did the grubs, right? We took the Raptors. Why? Because we had time to do the Raptors and cut out for the grub fight. After the grub fight here, we can fall back down to our wolves, as you see. Victor dies, Nidalee gets 2 assists, but I don't care, because I got some grubs. I'm 2-0-1 and I'm happy. So let's pause here. We know we have our wolf camp up. We're eating that right now. We do have the grump up to our left, and we also have the Krugs all the way down at the bottom side. Many junglers would not have even gone for the Raptors before grubs because they're like, well, we got a setup, right? Yeah, let's go sit around and jerk it. No, you can take a camp and cut across mid lane and still be there on time. Fantastic. Don't be too led by the quadrant clear, by the full clear. I love it. I get addicted to it. I understand why. But the most important part about this second phase of jungling between 10 and say 15, 16 minutes is maximizing whatever the hell advantages experience-wise you have so that you can keep that transition into the mid-game and keep it well. Now, because we've frozen on the screen here, you'll see that the Nidalee, as we continue playing, is going to pass downward. The Balveth decides instead of going for the Grump and playing for the top side, we're going to shadow the Nidalee because we see where she's going. We can extrapolate. All right, you've been top side a while. Your bottom side camps are available, and of course I can look to pressure you counter jungling. I can pressure a gank on the bottom side. I'm trying to position myself with my full item that I have over you, Miss Nidalee, to get this next dragon. We're translating our advantages into objectives. Now, of course, as you're watching this play out, you can see what's going to happen, and there we go. The Balveth is going to die, being caught out a little bit after doing a bit too much of what I just said. That does happen. We do make mistakes. We do overstay. Enemies are allowed to rotate, and if you look at the map, the Smolder is 1-3 pushing mid lane. The guy has no interest. I don't know why these idiots pick Smolder just to enter their own lane because they're not immortal at level 2 and then think that it's someone else's fault. If there's one thing worse than the design of that abomination, it's the players who made it. Now, sadly, this will give away the dragon. That's fine. We don't mind. We're not going to lose the game from it. But when you do have an oopsie daisy, please go back and control the side of the camps you feel is most important or most liable to counter jungling. Or simply the pathway that lets you path matching the Nidalee. So in this particular situation, the Balveth feels, hey, I need to go to the top side because we need to secure a turret. And this is the most important thing about MVP level jungling. Can you take a turret either to escalate the game state in your favor or to match the game state when bad things are happening? In this case, you notice Balveth is going to get kills. We're going to push the turret. We're going to do a dive. But so are the Tristana and the Nautilus going to push bottom turret with Nidalee being on that side. That's fine in this particular case. If you're winning, or even if you're losing, going equal here keeps your lead, or it allows you to come back because you're behind. There's no downside to matching this play in terms of macro. Now, to translate this into victory, I do love to get the Herald. I do love to get that third dragon. I do love to go for these huge swing moments in either direction that allows me to control the game in the mid-transition till Baron, because that's really where a lot of you lose. Even if you have a great early game, you don't see this through. You see that Balveth here shadows the pressure play on the bottom side. She's finished with the pressure play on the top side. She's able to move on over and try and get a kill. If you just can push them off, that's great. You stop the push, you lose nothing. You go back to base and buy your Stride Breaker, fantastic. Now you can clear that top quadrant and look for the Herald setup, especially if you are not yet worried about the dragon because it's not going to spawn for a little bit, and you can kind of focus on both of these. Always in this situation before the objective, is someone overcommitting? Is someone oversplitting? Is the enemy jungler just really not doing much? And it does feel like the Nidalee is watching the game happen. And of course, the Balveth shows up, does what she needs to by killing the top laner, snacks the Herald, goes back to base. Now we have 2 itemizations in pocket, and she will employ what I love to call the swoop method, which is something you need to do when you have to carry bad ADCs and people who don't really have an understanding of pressuring the map in any capacity. It means you simply take your camps, path where you want to go to, she's going down to make the pick, back to the camps, pushing the waves up, taking your camps, pushing for counter jungling, she controls the river. She is always ready to react where the fighting is happening, she's always ready to react to make the pick, and she's always ready to react to get the kills because she is the fed one. Now, I will leave a link below for the specific macro late game, how you would close this game up properly, but this is about MVP level jungling, and at 18-20 minutes, you've reached a point where you are in control, and if you throw it, it's got nothing to do with your jungling anymore. Let's now look at the next game where we have a Mundo against a Lilia. As you all know, Mundo is one of my soulmates, but this is not me, fortunately, and I'll basically critique him as such, for the things he does are truly weird. We're gonna start off with a full clear. Lilia's pathing down, Mundo's pathing down. You can't slap in 2 points on your Q. Mundo for the first clear as well. Comes out a bit in the wash though. If you're afraid of being invaded, the W is definitely more useful. I don't actually like starting topside here against the Lilia. She does beat you quite well early, and a lot of junglers can still do so. I really like the avoidance game to get into the Mundo-verse phase of the game as soon as possible. This means I do employ reverse clears and things like that. But if you're just going to do the classic, hey, ward the opposite buff, start and full clear, that's fine, but I would really like to go in the other direction. If I most likely think the jungler's gonna do what Lily is doing here, I want to path to the top side, especially if she starts Raptors, which we just saw from the Bel'Veth and Nidalee example. If you path in the same direction as the Lilia, you don't anticipate this, which you should, and you start to get in a fisty fight with her, even though you wanted to do the gank. Look what happens bottom lane. You were there first, you should be, but she kills you. You die. That's what she does to you. Understanding that very core principle, as we saw from Bel'Veth, is part of step 1 of being an MVP S+ jungler. Lilia, on the other hand, simply full clear down, and this is where it's great to be a little slower sometimes. She just reacts to the guy showing and making a mistake and says, right, if I can do nothing about it, I'll scuttle, double scuttle, deep waters jungle, and so on, but instead she gets a free kill. Now, this is where the Lilia can really just straight up control the game very, very easily, and where Mundo showcases what you should basically not be doing. Firstly, in this situation where you made a misread early and you died, don't go and try and gank a lane, especially a Ryze when you've got a Rakan rotating over and you don't pay attention to support roam tempo. It's just not really what Mundo wants to do. Because if Lilia doesn't do this, she will beat you harder. I would wait to gank that lane and see how it develops. First and foremost, I want to hit that Scry's Bloom to see where the Lilia is, right? Leave some wards as well. Otherwise, you just want to full clear down as fast as possible so you can make the level 6 play up. Am I doing Dragon or Grubs? In the meantime, Lily is just protecting her camps from counter jungling and gets a free kill because sometimes that does happen. I'm not going to pretend that this happens to everybody, but we all know what it feels like. In both directions. Because this Mundo attempts this gank, all this does is stifle his level 6 spike, stifle his objective spike, and it slows his clear down. The Lilia here represents what a lot of you simply do not do as these kind of farming, scaling, skirmishing, map control style junglers, is if someone is gonna beat themselves, let them beat themselves. Don't overreact. Way too many people in Lilia's case here don't just go, oh, well, if Mundo wants to be really slow, I'm just gonna, clear down and get 6 and beat him again. What an MVP jungler does is what Lilia does here, and she doesn't need the ward to know it. Full clears down efficiently, sees Mundo crossing the vision going into the river, and boom, sets the trap and kills him. This is not gonna play well for the blue team. You can watch the Lilia get pretty fed from this scenario, but it's not going to be by staying in the fight and doing a dragon. Why is she going back to base? Well, while she walks over, we'll keep this at 100 speed so I can explain a few things first. The Mundo should not have done that. He should have realized his failed gank rotation mid meant he should have full cleared and simply gone back to base and cut up to try and do the grubs before Lilia was able to do anything about it. She then might try bottom lane and do the dragon. You can counter jungle her red much like the Bel'Veth did. Because he cut in out of desperation and bad jungling, he died. Now we know as Lilia, this guy could go to his Krugs on the bottom side, but he ain't gonna do it. He's gonna want to think, hey, Lilia's doing dragon, I might as well, just go ahead and do the grubs. The Lilia says, listen, it's more important for me here to deny you the grubs than it is for me to take the dragon. And that's the exact right level of thinking you need to have. This guy's beating himself. All you have to do is show up and do baseline things. Give him now nothing for free for the rest of the game and you will win. I know that sounds like an easy concept, but trust me, in coaching and in courses, it's the biggest problem we see all the time when it comes to junglers thinking, well, I'm fed now, guess I'm just going to run around and do what I want. But in turn, they stop punishing the enemy jungler, and that's when exactly they lose the lead and they lose the game. Lilia is able to take the grubs, and because she's jungled like this, look at what it sets up for us. We can fall back to our red side quadrant, wait for the Mundo to path down again, and instead of full sequencing here, you can cut in before you do your blue side camps and rotate to the fight, pick up another kill. And if you get the dragon, you get the dragon. If you don't get the dragon, it doesn't matter really. It's not really part of the win condition. But if, for example, you were to cut into the dragon and say Mundo did make a great play, and you simply could not do the dragon, then yeah, you could have just gone back to the top side. But because Mundo is not jungling very well, you get everything and more. From this, remember, just like Bel'Veth, you got to translate this lead to lanes, and yes, eventually you might lose camps to counter jungling, but if you do the right thing, it will be completely minimal, and you will still get way more of his camps than he will ever of yours, and he will just win fights. The idea here is to almost force them to react to the second grub spawn, because they might think, hey, this is the only way we can win this game. And it's about 11:23 on a timer here. Look at the Jinx. She is 4-1-1. So even though the Lilia is fed, her top laner is inting, and her bottom lane is not exactly winning either. Therefore, you gotta win this fight, and that's what exactly she's going to do. Even if it's a little close and she just about survives. That's not exactly the quote-unquote comeback moment. I mean, you're not really behind, but it can truly feel like you're behind if you're in this game, even if, the Rise is winning. This is how you fix it. There's nothing more demoralizing for a team, a jungler, and a bot lane when they have a huge lead and you, as an even more fed jungler, by jungling like the real MVP that you are, that you simply come out of base, do a quadrant, have your buy, and kill them. Because if you're really fed, it really isn't difficult to do. And that should be game, because not only is that a free invade for the red, you overstay and die, no fight should be beyond you now. You have scale, you have 2-3 level leads over junglers, sometimes only one, but it can scale depending on who you're facing. And we'll skim through some of the kills here. No one will be able to deal with the Lilia and the Rise. And that's why it's important to look at this kind of jungling and this kind of style of climbing through the lens of the champion and the jungler you're playing. Which means if you need to understand more about the aggressive and ganking side, you gotta watch this video, but if you play farming junglers, you gotta watch that video.